we're talking about books again, because that's all I have going on in my life right now. I'm returning some books to the library today, so I thought I would talk about them before I do. So I read a few graphic novels because I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and I was very tired after reading that, and I didn't want to read anything real, so I looked up a bunch of graphic novels to read. And the first one is The Prince and the Dressmaker. I really loved this book. I thought it was super cute, and I made my friend read it, I made my sister read it, I made my mom read it. They all thought it was super cute. Of course, it's a graphic novel, it's going to be simplified, life isn't this easy, but it was still very adorable. The colors, the illustrations, they're also magnificent, and my sister said she knew what this book was going to be about because she read the title. But I apparently didn't consider the title at all and was completely thrown off by the twist. I really enjoyed this book. Another graphic novel was Pumpkinheads, and I thought it was super cute. Again, I loved the illustration, loved the colors, loved the themes. It was really sweet throughout. It was just a day of pumpkin patch adventures, and it brought back memories from childhood. I just didn't like the ending, but... Then I read 1,000 Nights, which was very beautifully written. Not that I know what beautifully written is. It's about this king who chooses new wives, and they often die after one night, but the main character survives, and it tells that story. There's a little bit of magical, spiritual, folk things. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting, and the concept of the spiritual, magical things that do happen, very cool. I didn't know how to rate this, but when I was reading reviews, there were some people saying how this shouldn't be categorized as YA because young adults won't be able to appreciate the beautiful writing and the pacing because young adults are impatient and we want this to go faster, which was kind of true, and I feel attacked. But yeah, still a beautiful book. At the same time, I had The Smell of Other People's Houses, and I just loved the aesthetics of both of these books. I really liked The Smell of Other People's Houses. It's quite a short book. It's set in Alaska. I like reading about people who lead different lives than I do, so this was very interesting. I hadn't really given much thought to Alaskan culture and the communities that live there, so that was cool. There's a map, and then a key of main characters, which was very useful. It's told by like 4 narrators, so there are a lot of different perspectives and people to keep track of, and my brain wasn't big enough to keep all the connections intact. It's just basic names and Lily, Ruth's younger sister, Bunny, Lily's best friend, Dumpling's younger sister, etc., etc. So I looked at this a lot, but don't be intimidated. It's not that bad. I thought it was very beautiful, and I loved the way that the 4 stories intertwined, and I could see myself reading this again. A book that I was super excited to pick up was I Hate Everyone But You by Gabby Dunn and Allison Raskin. Gabby and Allison have a comedy YouTube channel, and I've been watching it for years and loving them. And so when they came out with this book that features 2 characters based off of their characters in the show, I was super excited, and I loved this book. It's all written in forms of texts and emails, so it was super quick to read, and it just seemed very genuine. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if people who don't know them would like it so much. I don't think they'll dislike it, but I don't know if they'll feel the same connection as someone who's been attached to these characters for years. But it was super sweet, super witty. Oh my gosh, I wish I could think of things. Maybe I should tell you what this book is about. So there's 2 girls, and they go off to their own separate universities, but they're best friends, so they keep in contact. And it was super cool because Gabby and Allison talked about how a lot of coming-of-age books focus on romantic relationships, but these friendships are just as important or more important to how you view life and grow, and it was just a very sweet friendship. I know they have a second book. I don't know if it's a continuation, but I guess I'll pick that up eventually. And when I was on my library's website, I noticed they had a book club, and the book club was moved to online through Zoom, virtual book club, and so I decided to join. So I picked up The Ensemble. It's about a string quartet and talks about how their lives are so intertwined and their intimate relationships with each other, being musicians, having to listen in, all of that jazz. Haha, jazz. They don't do jazz, it's classical. And I would describe this book as like a daytime TV show that you just watch while you're folding laundry. It's very much a just follow their life, episode by episode kind of story. It's not adventure, nothing really happens. It's 300 some pages of just their life. It's fine, not really my style though. And when I went to the book club meeting, it was exactly as I thought it would be. It was a bunch of lovely old white women and me. And so it was very interesting to see that Zoom screen, but the discussions were very interesting. Oh, one thing, we were discussing the relationships in this book. I hated every romantic relationship in this book, and pretty much everybody did. It was just a mess, and maybe that's true to real life. Whatever. I mentioned one platonic relationship that I really, really loved between Jana and Henry. I had to open this book because I didn't remember the characters' names because that's how forgettable this book is. So Jana and Henry are two members of the quartet, and they have a super close friendship, very platonic. They're both straight, but nothing ever happens. They go home after practice together. They sleep in the same bed sometimes if it's convenient. They don't do anything. It's like sleeping over at your best friend's house. And I thought that relationship was super cool because a lot of books show that girls and guys can't be friends. And this book showed a relationship between a straight man and a straight woman. So that was very neat. Although when I brought that up at the book club, a lot of the other women were very confused. They were like, yeah, they slept in the same bed. Like, what was that? Like, they were super close, but what was happening? I was so confused about that. So, generational differences. Okay. This is the last graphic novel I read, or novels. It's a duology, Boxers and Saints. I think the packaging, what do you call the outside of a book? Because this is the cover. Is this whole thing the cover? I don't know. This, the spine design is super cool. It connects the Boxers and Saints, and then their faces connect, and then also in the front their faces connect like this. Oh my gosh, so cool. And the slogan of this book is, every war has two faces, So Boxers is in the perspective of somebody who's rebelling against the conquerors, invaders. The white people who are doing what they used to / do. And this was more of a hero adventure story. And then Saints is in the perspective of someone who gives in to the white people. And what leads them to give in, to convert to Christianity, seek protection, help them, and I thought it was a super neat perspective, a much shorter book. This duology was neat. I don't know if I would go around recommending it, but it's a graphic novel. It was quick to read, so if you want to read it, it is very interesting. And then just yesterday, I finished An Ember in the Ashes, which was an amazing book. Oh my goodness. It lets me forget Throne of Glass. Ariel said it gets better in future books, so I hope that happens. I just got a message saying that it's ready for pickup because I requested it from my library, so I guess I'll pick it up while I return all of these books. Back to this amazing book. I read this because Janani from This Story Ain't Over was doing a read-along, and she just posted her video talking about this book, and I just actually finished watching all of it, and oh my gosh, there are so many things and connections that I didn't make, and this would definitely be a book that I would reread. It's just so much more complex and beautiful, and the pacing is great. Beautiful, beautiful book. And in the cover Janani has, it has some of the main characters on the cover, and she talked about how cool it was to have South Asian characters on the cover of an epic fantasy novel. But yeah, after reading this book, I'm super excited to read the next book, especially after watching Janani's video. First of all, because she mentioned a lot of things that I didn't notice, and I'm excited to continue reading this amazing writing. And second of all, because Janani kept teasing things that would happen in the future. She would say, oh, this part, especially knowing what I know now about what happens, this part is extra interesting. And I want to know what happens next. Why does she think it's extra interesting? We'll find out by the end of next month. Until the 4th book comes out in December. July, August, September, October, November, December. I don't think there are 6 books. I don't know how this read-along is working. Janani just said to read this book by the end of the month, and I obeyed. We will now wait for next orders. I also read Frankly in Love, which is a book about a Korean American by a Korean American. So as a Korean American, you can imagine I was stoked to read this book, especially when I got it from the library, and oh my gosh, look at these beautiful page edges. They're navy blue, and oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. Every time I picked up this book, I was just mesmerized by the beauty. Oh my goodness. Just the cover and the page edges, and I'm going to use the word again, the packaging of this book is so beautiful, but the content, we don't have enough time to talk about that right now, so I'm not returning this quite yet. I have a few other Korean American books that I'm going to pick up today and read and kind of see what representation we have out there. And maybe I'll update you. But on the flip side, I read an amazing book immediately after this. My friend Cody lent me his signed copy of An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, and I will just say an absolutely remarkable thing is an absolutely remarkable thing. I know that line was probably used by everyone who has ever read that book, but it doesn't matter because it's true. I didn't really know what it was about. I knew that the main character went viral and then is now dealing with the fame and things like that, but that's all I knew about this book. So when things actually happened in this book, I was blown away. Oh my goodness. Amazing book. I can understand why so many people were so excited by the sequel that came out a few weeks ago, which Cody lent me his signed copy of again. He gave it to me without the paper cover because he doesn't trust me, which is a good choice. I read the first few chapters of it, but then paused to read An Ember in the Ashes, but I will get back to this soon. The font is a lot smaller, the spacing is smaller, and it's like 100 pages longer than the first book, so it's a little bit daunting, but Cody finished this in like 2 days, and he also loved it, so I'm very excited, but I have a lot of books to read, so this might be pushed towards the end of the queue. Wait patiently. Other people waited 2 years. I can put some time between the first book and the sequel. The first book was an amazing standalone book, so I'm very curious to see what happens in the sequel. And the last book I have here is What If It's Us, which was an absolutely adorable book. Oh my goodness. I typically don't like romantic relationships or love interests in books, TV shows, movies, because I think they're kind of silly and unrealistic and that they're just settling on the first person. But I adored so many scenes in this book. I have so many little stickies for very different reasons than the ones I have stickies, the words. All of these stickies in Frankly in Love are all the qualms I had with this book, and then all of these stickies are the wonderful, amazing, awkward moments. I think that's what made this book. It was just so awkward, it was endearing, and I loved the witty banter and the cringy, awkward moments. It was just so wonderful. And also, I love the ending because I can't really say, but I just appreciated it a lot. Thank you. I loved this book. I loved all of the relationships in it. Romantic and platonic and friendship and blah, blah, blah. Nothing huge really happens, but I loved all 433 pages of it. Chef's kiss. Super cute. Okay, I'm sweating. I should probably eat lunch and return these books. But yeah, I'm super glad that the libraries were open and they have curbside pickup so you can request books online. Also, when you return books, they quarantine them for some time before putting them back on the shelves, which is very good. I'm glad I can read physical books again and continue getting paper cuts because you can't get paper cuts from a Kindle, so it just doesn't give the same experience. I still need to edit videos from my semester abroad, and I know I should do that before the school semester starts because once university starts, it won't get done. Maybe it'll come out next summer. Okay, bye!